What's up YouTube, and welcome to the Anabolic Outpost. Today I will be showing you my high protein salmon patty recipe. This recipe is extremely high in protein with a good amount of healthy fats in there with the eggs and the fats in the salmon. You could also use egg whites to substitute if you want to make this even more low calorie, but I personally like the healthy fats in there with the whole eggs. I also know there are a lot of people out there that are a bit turned off by canned stuff, especially canned fish, but I promise you if you give this recipe a shot, you will no longer be afraid of eating that stuff, and soon you will realize they are a great tool to keep in your kitchen as it makes meal prep even easier. And I also do the same exact recipe with some other fish as well, specifically tuna works extremely well in this recipe too. So let me just quickly show you what you will need for this recipe. The first ingredient is obviously going to be the salmon. Now I use 2 cans, but if you just want to go ahead and just use the 1 can, then you could do that as well and just half the ingredients for yourself. But 1 can is going to make 2 patties. Celery, an onion, breadcrumbs, chives, fat-free Greek yogurt, Old Bay seasoning. If you don't know what this is, I'm going to put you on this video. It is an extremely great seasoning to use on seafood. And finally, 2 whole eggs. And if you want to substitute egg whites, it's going to be 100 grams of those. So the first step in this process is going to be to drain the cans of salmon. And then once they have no liquid inside of them, you're just going to fork all of the salmon into a bowl. And then go ahead and start to mush the salmon. Kind of like what you're seeing here right now. It's just supposed to be looking like some shredded salmon. And now that the salmon is shredded like you see here, you could go ahead and add the rest of the wet ingredients, starting off by cracking in the 2 eggs. The next wet ingredient I'm going to add is the fat-free Greek yogurt, and I'm adding 60 grams of that. And that is going to be it for the wet ingredients, and I'm actually going to go ahead and just mix it in with the salmon right now, specifically because I think it is a lot easier to break up the yolk this way, and once you add in all this stuff, you don't want it to just be sloshing around as you're trying to break up the yolk, and you definitely don't want the yolk to not be fully broken up inside of the mixture. And now that the wet ingredients are together, I actually like to take this time to cut the celery and the onion and take the wet ingredient mixture and put it inside of my fridge. Like most batters, when you put them in the fridge, it'll make it a lot more clumpier, and then when I go to grill them and put them into the patty form, they won't be crumbling all apart once they're in the patty form. So as far as the vegetables go with the celery and onion, you're going to be adding 90 grams of celery and then 90 grams of onion. Alright, I just took the batter out right now, and I really only let it cool for like 10-15 minutes because that's all it really needs. And now I'm going to add in the Old Bay seasoning that I was talking about earlier. I'm adding in 2 grams. And like I said, if you don't know what this stuff is, I highly recommend that you pick it up and give it a shot, because I have a feeling once you try it, you're going to be putting it in all of your seafood recipes from here on out, because it is especially good on that. And I even like to put it on chicken too. I'm sure all the people watching this from the East Coast of the United States know exactly what I'm talking about, but if you're not from around there, you might not know what that stuff is. Now I'm going to add in the chives, and I'm just going to give it a quick sprinkle because it's really not measuring the weight on my scale, but you could just be the eyeball judge and see how much chives I added in. And I'm also going to take this time to dump in the onion and the celery. I've now added in all the ingredients, so I'm going to break the fork out again and mix this batter one final time before I go ahead and put them into patty form. I actually lied about that being the final ingredient. I am still adding in the breadcrumbs, and I'm going to be adding in 56 grams of the breadcrumbs. If you want to even restrict the calories even a little bit lower, you could add like half of the breadcrumbs. Just keep in mind the patties might not be fully forming in the pan, and it might have broken off a little bit, but all that really affects is the appearance of the patties. So I like to go a little heavy, especially when I'm making a video and want the presentation to be on top. And of course, you could go in again and lightly mix in the breadcrumbs to the mixture. Alright, so I just went ahead and put the pan that I'm cooking it in right next to the bowl so I could just make the patties and directly transfer it in. And I'm just pre-prepping it by spraying it with the cooking oil before my hands get messy. And I'm also spraying my hands like I always do when working with batter, so it could easily and smoothly slide off of my hands and onto the griddle. So you can kind of see how I'm going about this. I just grabbed a ball of the salmon mixture, and then I'm just adding more to the ball and flattening it over and over again until it eventually starts to form into a patty. And keep in mind, it really doesn't have to be perfect, because you'll even see that after I made the patties, I added them and redistributed them so that they were all equally in size. And once you got that patty on there, you're just going to go ahead and repeat that 3 more times. And now you can see all 4 patties on the stovetop. And when you're cooking these patties, you're going to want them on kind of a low to medium heat setting. As you can see on my stove, if your stove is similar with the numbers, it's just low to medium heat, because these patties are pretty thick and you don't want the outside to burn before the inside gets a chance to cook. The good thing about it though, because it's canned, you could eat it raw and don't have to worry about getting sick. In fact, you could even make a salmon or tuna salad with very similar ingredients, which I might be making a video on in the future as well. And these patties are going to be about 6 to 8 minutes on each side. So you can see after about 8 minutes, me peeking under the patties to make sure that they are okay to be flipped. And I see that they are okay to be flipped, and I'm going to go ahead and flip all of them. And you can see exactly how much browning I have on each of these patties. But very similar to what you would get with like a tuna steak, it's up to you how well done you want these, because it is already edible as it is raw. The salmon patties are now fully cooked through, and I'm going to go ahead and transfer them to my plate. And like many things, these go incredibly great with some Frank's Red Hot sauce. And that is all there is for the recipe part of these high protein salmon patties. A very rare meal recipe on the Anabolic Outpost. I've mainly been doing breakfast and dessert style recipes. I do really like making meals. It's just most of the time I meal prep the same exact thing every week and don't really have much time to make meals that aren't going to be gone to waste. Which is why I tend to have more dessert recipes, because I know I am always looking for something sweet and those will not be gone to waste. Anyway, back to the salmon patties. I'm going to go ahead and give you a macro breakdown of them. It's going to give you 158 grams of protein with 31 grams of carbs, 4 grams of fiber, and 21 grams of fat for a total of 905 calories. Those macros, specifically the protein, is insane, and that is all thanks to the nutrient-dense fish that we have in this recipe that is salmon. It also has a lot of help from the Greek yogurt and the eggs, which are actually there just to improve the texture, which is not very common for something that is also high in protein. But that is all I have for you today. If you want more meal style recipes like this, stuff that you can meal prep throughout the week that is high in protein and low in calories, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the growth of the channel. And if you had any questions about this recipe, about substitutions, or anything like that, leave a comment down below and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Other than that, thanks for watching.